Hello, friends. Welcome to Building Value with Jason Nellis. I'm Jason Nellis. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you might notice that I'm in an even differenter locale than I was on the last episode. I'm traveling with family, we're trying a bunch of new spots, and you're definitely going to be seeing and hearing from me in a couple of different places. But for now, just know that the important thing is not about where I'm broadcasting from, but to whom I'm speaking. Today's interview is with the man, the mystery, the legend himself, Mr. Mobile, that is Michael Fisher. Now, I'm lucky enough to call Michael Fisher a friend, but he's also somebody who's taught me a tremendous amount about being on YouTube, understanding the greater economy for creators, and most importantly, thinking about how to speak about the same thing that everybody else is talking about in new and innovative ways. Our interview touches on a number of subjects, including his theater background, which mirrors my own, how his approach to working with brands has evolved over the years, and some of the benefits and challenges of building a YouTube brand with the backing of a company versus doing it independently. There's a lot of really good stuff in here. I hope you enjoy it. I know I did. This is Michael Fisher.
Welcome to Building Value. I'm Jason Nellis, and I am obsessed with the creator economy. I've spent my career at the intersection of creativity and technology, building products at companies like Hulu and Facebook, all trying to make it easier and more valuable for artists to do what they love. Whether they're content creators themselves or the people building products that creators use, every one of the folks I interview offer compelling ideas on how to create something of lasting value. If you like what you hear and you want to get more, please subscribe on YouTube or wherever you consume fine podcast products. And if you really love what you hear, leave a review. That always helps. And with that, on with the show. And here we are today with the man himself, the Mr. Mobile, the Captain Two Phones. It's Michael Fisher, my dear friend, and maybe perhaps the man with the only better head of hair on the internet than me. How are you, sir?
You had to wait until my barber blew me off to call attention to my hair. This is way too
It looks
big
spectacular.
And looks because the headphones are keeping it contained. It doesn't matter. Your hair is better than mine. You can just say it, Jason.
You're very sweet. And for those of you listening in audio, none of this makes any sense. So
That's
I apologize.
right.
None of that matters. How are you today, sir? It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. My stock response to that since 2012 is that I'm busy. And I think that's not a thing you should make part of your personality, but it just happens that way. Content creator life. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to chat today. Oh, we're making loud noises.
My coffee mug stuck to my coaster and it fell. My Captain Picard coaster, actually. That's very, very fun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Thanks.
That man has some deep thoughts about a lot of things. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's actually a perfect place for us to jump off from because a lot of the folks that I talk to who are in the content creator space, they usually have a background that is exclusively in the area of their interest. So they're, technical reviewers because they love just technology. They're makeup and beauty reviewers because they fell deeply in love with a particular brand. For you, of course, that's the case. You've been a technophile forever, but you also have something that you and I share, which is a deep background in theater. And so the first thing I'd love to talk about is how do you think that has helped you or perhaps differentiated you in this space? And more specifically, like beyond just the ability to be comfortable on camera, like what are the kinds of skills you find that you use from that experience more frequently?
Yeah, I love that question because it's coming from a fellow theater person, and you know what it's like to come off stage after doing some of the hardest work of your life in creating a character, and to have the first question posed to you from any family or friends be, God, how do you remember all those lines? I just don't understand. And you're like, that's not actually the hard part. It's just
Right.
rote mechanical, you're just forcing it into your brain. You're just practicing that.
I black out for 2 hours. What's the problem?
Yeah. Everything else is the hard part, right? So yeah, there's a lot of the obvious stuff that the acting background helps with when you're doing a YouTube or kind of content creator lifestyle, like you said. Being comfortable in front of a camera, for sure. Just, things you learn from exposure. But what I found is that the way I create my stuff, which is that I always have a fully written script first before every video. And what I find most useful just every day when I'm doing that and I'm preparing my script for recording into voiceover or on camera is I kind of analyze my own script in the way that as an actor, I used to analyze somebody else's. So, that just means diving into every sentence. And instead of taking apart objectives and motivations as I would have in the theater world, like I actually focus on how I'm going to deliver it. And often you'll hear, not to throw anybody under the bus because everybody does this differently, but you'll hear people, who don't have a performance background delivering copy that they've written, and it can often come off rather flat. Whereas I try to treat my copy as something somebody else wrote, and then be like, okay, well, there's antithesis here. I can hit these words a little differently, and let's make sure that this word lands, because otherwise this joke about this lazy alliteration joke I made doesn't work. It's really about script analysis. That's the thing that I use most often every day. That's kind of the boring answer. But my favorite.
I don't think it's. I don't think it's
you.
that boring at all.
Thank you.
In fact, before you have another answer too.
I do. Yeah. But you want to jump on that? Oh, okay. Well, in interviews is the other skill set that comes in, because acting is. This is a cliche to you and me, but to non-actors, it might be new information. Acting is very much just listening, right? You're listening and reacting honestly. And in an interview situation, it is so important to be able to, when you're talking to somebody in the tech space, or maybe a marketing person or a PR person who wants to sell you their version of a story, it's so important to be able to actively listen and then decide whether you believe them in a given moment or not. And that's something we did just so often back in the theater world. You studied Meisner, you did the repetition, the observing your partner and being like, I don't know that I believe you, and how do I act in response to that? And it's, I think listening is one of these skills that has gone by the wayside as a whole over the past few years. I'm an old man, so I'll talk about
Sorry,
that.
what were you saying? I wasn't paying attention.
See, this is the problem. You kids.
You kids. I'm older than you are. I appreciate that. But I think, one of the things that I've appreciated about our background, our common background, is exactly what you said first, the script writing and the script reading. And I've actually often advised folks I know who are on the younger end to more focus on their writing than their ability to speak to camera.
Yeah.
But I do think, and I'm curious about your response to this statement. The other thing I sometimes advise people is go to your local community theater or your local, school of whatever, and take an acting class, just because getting comfortable being exposed in front of people on a stage, I think, actually speeds up the experience of being on camera, and the challenge that, granted, they're different challenges, but ultimately that sense of nakedness that you sometimes experience the first time you see yourself on camera and have to really evaluate a performance. I think you can get there a little faster on an onstage acting class. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Disagree? What are your thoughts? Oh, yeah.
You're 100% right. And just getting comfortable also with feedback from a director. Because when you're throwing stuff on YouTube, you're going to get feedback from the comments, and Lord knows that's a whole other conversation. But like, once you are comfortable getting feedback in a way that is that you can internalize and kind of, I don't know, use as a tool rather than react defensively, as you always do your first day of acting class. Well, that's not really what I was trying to do. No, stop. Just take the note, make an adjustment. Let's work on it. Let's go forward. We're trying to build something new here. If you can maintain that mindset, it's a lot easier to, put something out there into the world for others to be able to comment on. And I think you're absolutely right. It makes you more comfortable with yourself, but it makes you more comfortable with the audience too, no matter who that audience is.
Well, and I think it also opens yourself out to new audiences too. If you're not trying to aim for one particular crowd, perhaps you get comfortable enough with yourself that you develop a different kind of aspect of a persona that you're presenting on camera that opens up a new avenue for you. I mean, I know you've done a lot on Twitch, although not recently.
Hint, yeah.
Yeah, you did that.
I love
but that again, right? That skill set applies to not just filming on camera, but also live broadcast and the ability to negotiate and navigate a live audience while at the same time doing something proactively. I think it's interesting how those skills really also dovetail.
That's a really good point, because I've never been an improv guy. I wasn't a sketch guy or anything like that. Like I leaned toward the bloody dramas, but
nerd.
Yeah, I know. But you learn, regardless of what kind of performance you're doing, you do learn the ability to think on your feet, because something always goes wrong, or an audience member sneezes, or somebody drops something, and you've got to work around it on stage. And yes, in a live situation like Twitch, same exact thing. Somebody throws you a curveball from the comments, or something unexpected happens in the game you're doing, and you say something, maybe you are talking too much and you let a secret go, and you have to go, oh, okay, well, I've got to work around that. There are just so many skills that come along with being able to cram a dictionary's worth of scripts into your head when you study performance. So yeah, it's kind of never ending.
another differentiator about you, something that is not common amongst most folks who are independent content creators, is you did your own content at first through other companies, right? So you built the Mr. Mobile brand through Mobile Nations. You're now part of an organization called Future. I think a lot of folks tend to think about building an online brand from the beginning as sort of a one-person band kind of experience, and you had the benefit of having a team. Not that to say you weren't doing a lot of the work yourself, but you were backed by organizations that were helping support you through resources. What were the pros and cons of that? What was the experience like in terms of having a team that maybe helped you, but also perhaps there was something there that hindered your build out of the brand?
Yeah, you said it right. I mean, it doesn't matter how many I've done this interview, this portion of this interview, literally over 100 times. I have said this on various social media networks a billion times. It doesn't matter. No one notices, remembers, or chooses to remember it. Everyone thinks, thank you, appreciate that. Everyone thinks, everyone routinely says to me at least once a week, I'm so glad you went independent. And I'm like, well, I never did. I've never been an independent creator who has to do all of the background work of running a business in addition to making the content, right? So like even back before Mr. Mobile, when I started in the tech field at all, it was because I wanted to get hired at a gadget blog. And the one that hired me, Pocket Now, wanted to focus on growing their YouTube channel. And I happened to have skills that dovetailed nicely with that. But look, I was coming into the space as an enthusiast. I knew a lot about phones. I didn't know anything about the business. I didn't know anything about writing for this particular niche or anything. So coming aboard a team of then, I think there were 6 or 7 of us, maybe 8 or 9, a team of people, all of whom knew more than I did, was immensely helpful. And to say nothing of their existing relationships with manufacturers, with PR people, their other journalists, or journalists to begin with. So I started in 2011 grateful to be surrounded by people who knew more than I did. And that has always been the case. That has carried me through until today. Starting Mr. Mobile, this was not my idea. I am not a vision guy, and this will come up again. I like to be down in the weeds of whatever product I'm shipping, right? I like to be focused on the product or the content. And I got a phone call from a guy who was known at the time as Crackberry Kevin, and he said, "We want to make a YouTube channel on Mobile Nations, hosted by one person, and we want that channel to basically do exactly what you're doing at Pocket Now, but we want you to do it for us." I'm like, well, cool. Thank you for the offer. It's 2013 and I'm not ready to leave Pocket Now. So no thanks. I tell you what, look, loved my team at Pocket Now, still love them. I should have gone earlier. I should have said yes right then. I had just taken on a new role. I thought there were some new challenges to maybe explore. But as tends to happen in publishing, you get sold, you get bought, you get sold. Things just didn't grow the way we wanted to. So thank God Kevin sent me another email in 2015. Basically sent me the same message twice. Said, "Hey, just wanted to check in, see how you feel now." And I was like, "Let's talk." And what that resulted in was I got to focus on the content. I got to write the scripts, review the products, figure out the best way to film it, make a product I was proud of on the video side, and everything else other people could handle who were better at things like sales and business and setting up whatever, all the multitude of things you are not necessarily good at when you're just a nerd who wants to talk about gadgets on YouTube. So I mean, it was a gift, and it continues to be a gift. Anytime you have that opportunity, you have to go for it. In my opinion. And the thing that people always ask is, well, isn't it a bummer that, you don't make as much money as you could if you were fully independent because of the structure of my deal with Mobile Nations? And then we were bought by Future, yes. And it's like, yeah, well, I mean, true. But I also get an enormous amount of benefits in return. Like, I don't know, health insurance. It's weird. You talk to people who don't live in the US, they're like, "Why don't you just go on your own?" You're like, "Well, I tell you what, health insurance is a big deal. These teeth are jacked up. I need a lot of dental care." It's retirement stuff, having a budget for things like a space and like things that a larger entity can give you like that are really undervalued in this world of most everybody being an individual. So I'm happy to have found that balance, and I do a lot of individual stuff on the side. So it's great for me right now, but it is unique.
There's a lot there that I want to unpack. The first of which is I appreciate from a viewer's perspective how it may seem as if you are an independent creator, because externally facing, everybody looks like that, right? There is nobody on YouTube who, unless it's the, so-and-so, it's the Shure microphone guy, whatever, whoever that is, right? Like that generally ends up being a nameless person, or, hi, I'm Jeff from Shure Microphones. You're like, I don't know who that is. I don't really care. It's about the microphone. Right. I really appreciate that despite what some may view as a limitation, working under a brand's specific guidelines and dare I say restrictions, you've still built something that feels very uniquely you, which I think also is a testament to Mobile Nation's now future and their ability to give you the space to grow that, so that it wasn't a corporation giving you a guideline of this is how we present ourselves, this is what you do, but giving you the space to say, this is where we are, this is where the world is, help us bridge that gap. And you were able to build your own unique space in that, which I think is rare and more importantly, unique.
It absolutely is. And I said it before, but it was a gift. And just to be clear, like all the creative, that is all me, all the writing, all the shooting these days, all the editing, it's all the content that people see is all coming from me. It's the support framework around it that, that I have help with, which is great.
Yeah. And healthcare is a pain in the ass. So I get that too.
Sure is.
Woof. Well, that leads me to my next topic, which is something that you talk about a lot, which is ethics in reviewing. And you're very clear in your videos about who's had the ability to approve. Often, if, I don't think anybody, maybe one or two times you've ever given somebody the ability to give feedback on a video before you've published it. Maybe zero. One time?
Once. Yep.
Okay.
It was AT&T. I made it.
Okay.
I regret it. They made one change. They made one change that didn't matter, and I still regret it.
But I think that's an interesting line, which is not to say that creators these days are more unethical in their reviews, but you do see the line getting blurrier sometimes with when creators are doing sponsored content and they're really pushing the content without fully disclosing their relationship. And even though the FCC has come out here in the States and has made requirements about when things are sponsored, you sometimes see people sort of, flirt with that line more than they should. I know that ethics in reviews has been an important part of what you've done early on. Was that a mandate from you, or was that a mandate from Mobile Nations, or how did that line get drawn in the first place? And how do you see that evolution having grown today?
Yeah, no, that was me. Because Mobile Nations did a lot. Like Mobile Nations had entire blogs that were dedicated to just being the marketing arm of a company. Like Crackberry was very transparent about it, but later in the game, crackberry.com was essentially the marketing arm of Blackberry Mobile as TCL. So like, no, Mobile Nations was like on a very case by case basis. That stuff all came from me because I was seeing at the time, this sounds very, what do you call it? Small and not meaningful. There's a word for that.
Insignificant?
Insignificant or quaint. That's the word I was going to. This sounds very quaint now. Yeah, where it's like
you and me, quaint.
Indeed. Yeah. Pardon me. Let me stretch. My concern in those days was what you are talking about, which is like, well, people aren't really disclosing as clearly that they're getting, at the time, people would light you up in the comments for getting a review device for free. They send you these phones for free. How can I trust you? And it's like, that's just hilarious now, because at the time, of course, it was like, no, let me convey to you. When one of these shows up, am I excited? Yes, but it is work showing up to my door. And I have 8,500 phones. Like the value of these things has just fallen to zero for somebody like us.
And you have to send most of them back, I presume.
You used to. And now most manufacturers don't want the logistical hassle of asking for them back. So no, they just pile up. But you're not really allowed to sell them. So you're just like, well, all right, I'm just surrounded by crap. But
okay,
to go back to your earlier, like to your actual question, the conversation shifted over the last 8 years, and people who used to get into the content space to share an opinion and to make money based on incidental AdSense kind of ads. They now, a great many of them, and I say this without any judgment, this is just a great many of them have realized that brands will pay them directly now. And so rather than making a review video, say, of I don't know, pick an electric vacuum or a social robot or a smartphone, you can get money directly from the brand. You can make a video that is effectively a commercial, and if your audience is cool with that, well, then you can have it both ways. You can make content that you have a good time making, and you can get paid by a brand to do it. And I think once that tipping point sort of started to happen, it really accelerated quickly. And now I would say that's the majority of people on YouTube in this space of a notable name. They do that at least some of the time. And again, zero judgment from me. Like, one of the benefits of being backed by a large institution is that I don't have to worry about making money every week. I don't have to worry about, like, well, if I don't take this offer from Samsung to do a paid S24 Ultra video, then I'm not going to be able to pay my rent or buy a new camera or buy something, right? So it's just a matter of everybody setting their ethical thresholds and disclosing adequately. It has created kind of a Wild West situation where you do have to, that's what's made disclosure so important. Because before it was assumed that, well, you're probably like a pretend journalist, right? You're probably doing this. And it's like, no, now everybody sets their own thresholds. And people call me a journalist and I reject it because I'm not. The Verge gets dragged through the mud all the time by hardcore nerds who are angry with them for one reason or another. But you look at their ethics policy and they can't even take travel. Like, I see my friends who work at the Verge at events and they're like, yeah, we had to stay at this crappy hotel down the road because we couldn't take the travel and lodging part of this, whatever this press junket was. I take that. And I've said this in my ethics policy the whole time. I'm like, guys, I'm not a capital J journalist. I will accept sponsored travel. In fact, if a brand is offering me sponsored travel, I will be like, how long is it? Business class. Let's talk about me being comfortable in a chair so I can actually work on the way there. So, another example of all of us drawing our lines differently, and that's all okay as long as you're transparent about it. And when I made that the focus of my ethics policy, I think that's what people resonated the most with. And it's not like you're the most impartial, perfect dude. It's just like, anytime there's something I think you should know, you're going to know it, which is just absurd sometimes, because I'll get to the end of a video and I'll be like, Motorola provided travel, lodging, and one steak dinner and 2 drinks.
And they were watered down, and frankly, I could have sent them back, but I didn't, because I was trying to be polite to the bartender who was working purely for tips.
Yeah, exactly, right. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, you decide how much disclosure is too much then too. So it's a Wild West. I'm a little disappointed, I'll say. Like, I did not get into this space to make commercials for brands. That is not what I want to do. It's not what makes me happy. What makes me happy is sharing an opinion that I genuinely hold and being able to try to back it up with facts. And
you
sharing
opinionated?
Yeah,
that's
weird,
shocking,
right? Yeah. My brother will ask me a couple times a year, why don't you just go work for Samsung? I'm like, it's because I don't want to do that. It's like,
no, that's not the same thing at all.
No, it's not.
I get that. You and I have, I should disclose, we have worked in the past a couple of times on various stuff. This is not a paid sponsorship.
Right.
Thank goodness for that. I think we're almost, dare I say, genuinely friends.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on that check, Jason.
Yeah, well, you keep dodging my calls.
Pay me.
But I appreciate that there is also a change in the world of how, tech reviews are done. Reviews broadly are done, right? As you said, like, it's one thing to hold an ethics line. It's another not to be a journalist. Those things can sort of shift and change over time.
Mm-hmm.
With that, though, you are now a co-founder in an actual physical product, right? Clicks, which is a way to bring back the physical keyboard, which I love.
Yeah.
Still waiting for my free case as a friend, but yeah, that's fine. It's no big deal. I didn't really want one anyway, but it's no big deal.
You're on
but
the
more
list.
Importantly, yeah, I'm sure. But more importantly, I think it's interesting that you've made the leap from reviewer to founder. I know firsthand your love of the old Blackberry physical keyboard. You like that physical response, right? Not that you don't love your iPhones, but there's something about having a physical keyboard to tap on that I know brings you immense joy.
Yes.
I, just as an aside, had the very first Droid phone, the Motorola Droid,
2009.
specifically because it had a physical keyboard. And then when I moved to the iPhone 4S, I had about a week's worth of I don't know how to do this. This is very strange. My thumbs feel very clumsy. And then it clicked and I never went back.
It clicked, indeed.
There you go. So my first question is, before we talk about the genesis of the product, do you find you can type faster on a physical keyboard with your thumbs?
No, it's not about speed.
Okay.
It is most definitely about everything else. So it's my new fidget toy. So since you brought up speed, I use Monkey Type. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
It's a website that's just basically gives you your typing speed and accuracy, and it's very clean and it's very fun. That's my new like fidget toy when I'm on a conference call that's too long and whatever, and I just start doing typing tests. So I'm at about 60 words per minute on clicks, and that's
the next time we're on a long call and I hear
then
I'll
you
know what that is.
Yeah, shut the hell up and let me talk. Active listening, folks.
Yep.
So look, 60 is fast enough for me. What I will say is that I don't mind being slower on a physical keyboard, because typically if I'm using the physical keyboard, I'm doing it. I'm writing about something I care about. I'm not just banging something out real quick, like a quick email response. I'm doing a journal entry, or I'm doing a long email, or I'm doing some script writing. And the benefits you get from clicks are the iOS shortcuts that are baked into the iPhone. So you can just navigate the system using the keys and not get your thumbs in the way of the interface elements, which has always been the dumbest thing. This is one of the reasons I love the Palm Pre, because you had that gesture area. You didn't have to get your hand in the way of what you were doing. You can do that again. And also the tactility I mentioned before, but like group chats, very annoying. Very annoying to be in a group chat and have all that context and then pop up a virtual keyboard that eats up all that context. You're like, stop, give me the whole screen. The virtual keyboard, when it pops up now on other phones, I'm like, ugh, why even have a screen this big if you're going to cover up half of it with a VKB? So look,
this is the definition of a first world problem being solved. I love this.
That has been my career for over a decade, Jason Nellis. Like, hey, welcome back to First World Problems. Let's talk about this volume rocker and how it's kind of mushy. Stay tuned.
Oh my gosh. I think we finally have our podcast together. First World Problems with Michael and Jason.
There you go. What's the problem with that?
No, nothing at all, in fact. But I love and appreciate that this is a product that is not just it's not just something that you're doing to make money, right? Because we do see a lot of creators who are looking out in the world and they're going, how do I add to my monetization strategy? Well, there's merch, right? T-shirts and hoodies and coffee cups, right? These are low-hanging fruit that any drop shipper can do for me.
Right.
You actually went with a team. You built a physical product. So you didn't just found a company. You founded a company and iterated on solving a problem, which is the heart of any startup. Mm-hmm. And then you launched it. And I will call out, you had a video about it. You were very clear about, this is something that I've worked on. This is something I have ownership in, right? We drew that ethical line very straightforward.
Yes.
And it seems like the market response has been pretty positive. You guys ran out of your first run and you're waiting on your second, right?
Yep. Founders Edition sold out. Very happy about that. We expected that. We didn't expect it to happen quite as quickly. And, we are hitting the deadlines, almost all the deadlines we announced to begin with. And this is but it's been such an education. It doesn't matter if you are on schedule. If people wait long enough for something that they want, which very grateful they want it, they will consider you late. And then you will get a lot of pushback about that. And then you will run into problems that you're not allowed to talk about because of reasons you're not allowed to talk about. And I will stop the sentence before I reveal a secret. It's like, guys, these are all good things. We don't have issues with the product, but like, we have to solve these problems if we want to deliver the best product we can. And I can't tell you about it, but please just trust me. You're going to get the thing and you're going to love it. But it's such a strange world to be on the exact opposite side of the table and to be like, Jason, I'm glad you brought up the word Blackberry. We don't really talk much about Blackberry, because it's a new thing, right? Let's talk about the iPad and its magic keyboard. And I start to do like the spin game where it's like, let's get back to the KSBs. And it's so weird to not be the guy who's just been like, all right, cut the BS. Just tell me, you made a Blackberry for the iPhone. Yeah, go. It's good, right? This is as good as my
I got to tell you, this is the first time I've been on this side of the conversation with you, because usually I'm the one working at the startup or the big company, and we've brought you in for something. And to be the guy who's like, it's Blackberry for an iPhone. Yeah. I get it. I understand how freeing this must be for you. It's addictive. Where can I get more drugs? Like, my God.
It's so great. It's so great every single time to come into a room. And it's one of the things I truly still enjoy. It's like coming into a room with people who've made something and been like, got it. What do you got for me? Okay, that's cool. That's compelling. Have you thought about this? Oh, and that's another thing. The briefings themselves, the number of questions you get from from journalists or creators or in-betweeners who are just like, did you somebody, I think the 47th person of the day asked us at CES, did you think about making it a slider instead so it's not always so long? And Kevin, Crackberry Kevin, who's a co-founder of Clicks with me, had gotten so fed up by this point, he was just like, no, we never thought of that at all. But it was a cool, like, it's been a fun learning experience for sure to be on this side of things.
Well, I'm glad. Are you finding the role of founder or co-founder in this case to be one you might continue to pursue, or is this really unique and specific to this product?
I'd like to, but it's part of the learning experience is learning what you're good at, no matter what you're doing, right? There's things you're good at and you like doing, and then there's things you have to put up with doing. And I'm learning as we get into almost a year now of my involvement with this outfit that when I joined didn't even have a name or a corporate structure. What I'm learning is that I don't like the operational stuff. I like the nitty gritty product stuff, and this will not surprise you. I like talking about, well, what font are we going to use on the P and how are we going to differentiate the apostrophe from the comma, and where are we going to put the period, and like how big should this be? I like product design stuff. I like product iteration stuff. So I think what I do in the future will be more, if I do more of this stuff, it'll be more that and internal testing. And, that's been the thing I've done the most. I've been the in-house reviewer to be like, how does this feel? Does this suck or is it great? So yeah, that's more stuff that I'd like to. There's not really an entrepreneurial bone in my body. I'm not, and again, goes back to my earlier point. That's why you partner with the right people, right? Partner with people who have the skills you don't.
100%. Well, and I don't think there's a founder I know who would ever claim that they can do the whole thing themselves, because that's insane. And more importantly, everybody has a specialty, and your specialty is, of course, on the product side. It's where you've been for all these years, as well as the evangelist side. But you may not be an operations guy. You may not be a finance guy. And those are, you may not be the guy who integrates all those teams and sort of gels the machine, right? Those are very different skill sets. I get that. We can have that conversation anytime. That's been my world for most of my career. I'm still learning how to do your career.
I admire that. Because it's so hard, and it's under celebrated. Again, like I said before, all the architecture of, like, in the creator space, all the people who make the creator able to do the thing, like all the people who on a film set who support the actors on screen. I just had a film shoot across from my apartment the other night, and there were 85 crew to 3 actors, and it was like, it never ceases to surprise me anew. I've been on plenty of sets, but how big that ratio, that disparity is, and how little those people are ever thought of,
and how little they're paid.
Indeed.
Which, I also don't miss. But I'm with you. I think my feeling is, I think, similar to yours, in that I feel very lucky where I've been in my career. You talk about, turning down a job. I don't know if you know this. I turned down the job at Hulu when I was 23 before accepting it.
I didn't know that.
A day or so later. So sidebar story time, I guess.
Yeah.
So I moved to LA when I was 23. I got a job through a family friend at Dick Clark Productions, where I was a PA, and I worked on the American Music Awards of 2007.
Wow.
I worked on the New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest. And that's filmed, by the way, those, at least it was then, all the things that you see where they cut to the stage with, like, Fergie dancing with 150 people, those are all filmed weeks before, in a surprise to nobody. And while I was working there, a temp agency I'd signed up for as soon as I'd gotten to LA. And this is, by the way, during the writer's strike of 2007. So our mutual dream of, like, stardom and stage and screen, like, none of that was happening then. I was barely making any money. The temp agency sent me on an interview for a company nobody had heard of called Hulu. And their whole thing was, we're taking media from DVDs and we're making it available online. And I was like, oh, I get that. I can do that.
Yeah.
And they offered me the job, but the guy who offered me the job from the temp agency was basically, they were working on commission. And so he was just like, okay, so you're taking the job. I'm like, well, no, like, I know it's temp to hire, and I know I need a minute to, like, just process that. I've got this great, I'm not making any money, but I'm working at a production company. I feel like this is the beginning of my Hollywood story. I really just want to, think about it for a minute. And he got his boss on the phone, who was in typical Hollywood fashion, just berated the hell out of me.
Of course.
And so I basically said, F you, and hung up.
Good for you.
And And then about an hour later, the hiring director at Hulu called me and was like, "Yeah, they're just being jerks. Like, just call me tomorrow. It's no big deal." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
okay." And then I slept on it. And the next day was like, I could probably work there for a few months and make some money. Sure, I'll take the job. And then that was the end of my traditional Hollywood career.
you know what? It's gone really well for you since. So I think you made the right call. And I'm glad I'm glad you made the reversal so quickly, though. Honestly.
Candidly, me too, for any number of reasons, not the least of which was 23-year-old Jason was stupid.
Oh, well,
that guy was,
yeah. No, I'm glad that I am not on the path that 23-year-old me would have set me on, for sure.
Yeah, those guys were not bright.
They thought they were bright. Do. Absolutely.
Yeah. Plus, I hadn't really figured out the haircut yet. I gotten the part down, but like the
same.
Anyway, it doesn't make sense. All right. Well, now that we're off track, I want to bring us back to the conversation around some of the nitty gritty of what you do. And the first thing I want to jump into is editing. So recently chatted with our good friend, Kevin Nether, Kevin the Tech Ninja.
Yes.
And he and I were talking about retention editing and how that has become something that for a minute was sort of the meta of YouTube. The idea being that, you're editing with this constant attraction of what's coming next and this constant, sort of stay tuned because we're going to be talking about this. And, let me reveal this, you've seen the $1 duck. Now here's the $1 million golden duck kind of crazy that we now see, the Mr. Beastification of YouTube in a certain way. You have never really fallen into that. In fact, the structure of your stories have been very narratively driven rather than being sort of enticing. And not to say that those videos aren't narratively driven so much as they're much more sort of pandering, I would say, is maybe not the kindest word, but perhaps the most honest. As you see these, editing waves come and go, these different sort of themes throughout the course of the last decade, do you ever find yourself sort of more attracted to those kinds of pushes and pulls, riding those waves and seeing if that helps build your brand? Or is it more you stick with what you know and it has proven to work well for you?
No, there are many ways I would like to change the nature of the content that I produce. There's a lot of optimization I would like to do if given the resources and the time and frankly, the personal bandwidth, because I do a lot of other things. But no, editing, that is never something I've geeked out on. Or I love all the tools YouTube gives you. I love that I can look second by second and see where people's attention is. And it always looks like this. It's always a diminishing thing over time because that's just how every video goes. People tune out. And there's always a monster dip where the sponsor segment is that you had to put in there. And then they come back and you're like, okay, cool. And my retention, I've always been satisfied with. It's always been above average. And what that has said to me over time is that what I am doing works, and it is a narrative structure. Like you say, I try and tell a story every time, which sounds pretentious and sounds also overly complicated, but really you don't need much for a story. You need a beginning, a middle, and an end. And a review template, as meaningless as the word review has become, still gives you that opportunity to tell a very simple story. Here's a thing. Is it good? Let's see. It's not good. It's bad. Please subscribe. Like, whatever it is, and that template is flexible enough to let you do all kinds of fun interpretations. For a while there, we saw, I think pandemic jump-started a lot of us. It's certainly like David Kogan, the Unlocker, one of my favorite dudes, personal friend, started doing all these real world tests where he would take products to interesting venues to test, and he still does them today. Those are still reviews. So it's really a matter of, and what I decided to do was just lean harder into the narrative, because people appreciate a nice cinematographically complex shot from me, and they like, the sound of my voice. But what most people really are there for is the structure of the script. So yeah, I've not concerned myself with making my content look anything like Mr. Beast's. I had to look up retention editing, to be honest with you, just because I haven't. But that charitably or frankly, that has led to a degree of stagnancy. Again, I'd like to change things up. It is time to change things up. But I've been doing this a long time, and you have to get other people's ideas in the mix, because you eventually do run out of inspiration, right?
I have an idea. What about a plucky co-host with a pair of glasses and an attitude, and you can talk about adopting me as if it's season 8 of some long-running.
I was going to
sitcom
say, this sounds like TGIF. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there might be some
I'm
legs
thinking
in
of
this.
4 different shows that have all used this plot line.
Yeah, and then like after 2 years, if it's not working out, we send you upstairs, and you never come back down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or you just use the same B-roll of me coming down, waving, and going right back up the stairs in the same shots or in the same, segments over and over.
That's all
again.
you need. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey
And
guys,
I can't have a
welcome
real
back.
name. It's got to be
Jason's
like
not
7 or 3.
here. Yeah, we can work that out. I think let's talk offline about that. Yeah.
Great. Fenna. I'm always looking for new opportunities. I think is really the important thing. We're making this about me.
You and me both.
So the structure of the script dictates how you build, right, from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
Take me through a little bit, like if somebody asked you to sit down and teach a masterclass on how you script, give me the main points. Like, what would be the things you would offer new creators in terms of how to think about their scripting?
Get in the shower and don't take your phone in with you. The shower is like.
Can I just say that's just good advice broadly? Like, just
you
don't
would be
take your phone in the
surprised
shower.
how often I do not follow that advice. My phone is a constant shower companion,
Gross.
and it ruins my last. I told you they have too many phones. What else am I going to do? It's where I store them. No, I
Can't be good for the batteries.
I have had some of the best creative ideas of my life in the shower because it is an isolation booth. I am there without distractions, without people can't reach me, and I am just there with my own thoughts. So really, and if whatever the equivalent of a shower is in your life, go to that isolation booth, go to that space where you're not looking at your phone, and let your brain kind of like a sponge kind of decompress, kind of unpack itself after having been squeezed by these constant disruptions. And you will find that solves a lot of your creative problems when it comes to writing a script. Because it's not actually all that hard to use a thing for a week, maintain a list of good and bad, and then assemble that cohesively. I think what's difficult is assembling it in a way that's interesting. And I don't always do that. Well, Lord knows. I mean, you can tell when I'm pressed for time and I have to crush 5 days of work into 2 days because of whatever. You'll see it in the comments even. It's like, didn't really think you gave this one your all. And I'm like, I didn't. Thank you for noticing. Appreciate it. Because it's about more than sounding pretty, and it's about more than pretty shots. It's about telling a story that's worth telling or that people want to hear. And that's why the writing is the most important part, to be honest. The writing and the delivery. I always said, like, have something worth saying or have a different way of saying it. I don't always have something new to say. If you look at my review conclusions, they are very often what other people have said. I sometimes have a different way of saying it, and I think that's why it works.
I remember some years ago, everybody on the same day suddenly had a review for a Dyson vacuum.
Oh my God, yeah. But they weren't reviews.
I don't
they
know
were
that you did. I don't.
Hell
was
no,
that you guys
it was
too?
it was SpawnCon. It was
okay.
Yeah, it was a big sponsored campaign.
Yeah. But I do remember that, and I remember how everybody magically came to the same conclusion about how great of a vacuum it was. And I think that was I think right before the FCC came down with its mandate about, sponsored content. And they weren't not saying it was sponsored, but it was like buried in minute 8 of a 12-minute video. That's like, and Dyson supported this video by sending it to us, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I love that about the FTC rules, though. They do have to say, like, you're not allowed to do.
I keep saying FCC. You're right. It's the FTC.
Yeah, Federal Trade. Yeah. And you've got to put those disclosures up front. You've got to be as clear as possible. I'm like, look, nobody gets it right 100% of the time, but you've got to make a good faith effort to understand where you're coming from.
Totally. I just think it's interesting in relevance to what you were saying a moment ago about, like, sometimes it's really hard when you come to the same conclusion as everybody saying it differently. And we've seen so many instances where everybody says it the same way, the same time. It's like those supercuts you see on TikTok of, all the news anchors saying the same thing,
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Yes.
Yep.
And as is sponsored content that is all suddenly in support of one product that's just magically great for everybody. So
indeed. Yeah. But it is tricky. But like to get, not the ethical side of that, but you're right, the creative side of it, and the thing where you're held to the same embargo date, right? So even if it's not a sponsored content, right, you've got to you don't have to publish at the embargo time on April 11th at 4:30 in the afternoon. But if you don't, you're giving up some time. You're letting everyone else run away with the audience, and you're not there in the conversation. So that's a strategic decision. It's not always good to publish at embargo time. You can make that call on a case-by-case basis, but it is fatiguing to watch the same review effectively come out of 12 mouths. And that's, look, if everyone's done the same work and come to the same conclusions, that's one thing. But to be entertaining, which is part of the job on YouTube, got to come up with a different way to deliver it. Again,
Sure.
I don't always succeed at that. I always try.
Well, I get it. But when you were coming up, and I will call out that this is around the same time that I was at Unboxed, which was the company I was a part of that eventually got acquired by Facebook.
Yeah.
Just sliding that in there, apparently, about my bona fides.
Bragging it up here on the airwaves. All right. Oh,
that's what I do. But I one of the things I remember about that time was that there was a very clear hierarchy within the tech review space of folks who were at the top of their game, who were well respected. You didn't have the biggest following, but you certainly had one of the most respected followings, along with lots of other folks that are friends of ours and friends of the show. And then there was an upcoming class of folks, some of whom are still producing content, like our friend Al Jefe and others who have fallen off the map.
Yeah.
But it does seem to me that we're reaching a point now, as we are with many other verticals in spaces like YouTube, where there's kind of an almost oversaturation of that talent, right? Like there's a lot of people now who have very good relationships with brands who can do a release, an embargoed release of a review at around the same time. So it used to be you'd see 12 or 15 reviews. Now you're seeing maybe 100, maybe 150 released at the same time. Do you think, my view on that, just to offer my thought there, is that's actually good, because I think it forces creativity from people who've been around for a while, because it's a little easier to go to the next person who has a different viewpoint or is just sort of a different tone of voice, even if I'm hearing roughly the same review as the guy I used to listen to all the time, or woman, because actually seeing more women in tech reviews is also a trend we're seeing right now. Thank goodness.
Yeah, long overdue. Yeah.
Right. My question to you is, does that pressure and the now sort of saturation of the vertical that you're in give you creative impetus to try new things and to sort of push envelopes? Or do you feel like, again, like other waves, like we were talking about, like with retention editing, like just keep doing what I'm doing, and I know that my audience will be there when I'm, when all is said and done?
Yeah, so it's more internally driven. It's not that I feel pressure externally that much in this way. I feel it in other ways.
Okay.
What it is that, buddy, I just can't. I actually said this almost verbatim in my S24 Ultra review right at the top. I said, I just can't have the same conversation anymore. I cannot do the thing where it's just like intro, setup, hardware, software, camera samples. Is it good? Is it bad? Should you buy it? Please like and subscribe. I can't do that anymore. And that is what is driving the impetus to change. And that's why you start seeing, people will be like, it's really funny. Marquez, MKBHD, said he wasn't going to do I think it was the OnePlus 12 review, which was a fun coincidence, because I had never planned to do a OnePlus 12 review either. He has a much larger following than I do. And so when his audience got angry with him, as some did with me for skipping that phone, it was my perception. I haven't talked to him about this, so it might be wrong, but it was my perception that he essentially got bullied into it because enough people complained and said he shouldn't be skipping this phone if he's going to cover as many phones as he does. And he did. But that was a test I was not looking forward to facing, because I was going to stand up to people. And again, because my audience is smaller, I think it never reached a critical mass. And because people are already used to me covering kind of weird, out there, foldables, old phones, not as many of them expected me to do it. But that was the perfect example of a phone where I was like, this phone is last year's phone. What are you talking about? And they fixed a big problem with it that I did complain about. But again, I couldn't get up the motivation to tell a story about it. And I think once I gave myself that permission to just be like, you know what? No, we're not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to tell you I'm going to bring out another episode of When Phones Were Fun. We're going to talk about a Samsung phone from 2006. Or, this past week, like whatever was hot this past week. I don't know. Apple Vision Pro, not that. We're not going to cover that. I'm going to show you this AI voice recorder that sticks on the back of your phone and is kind of janky, and you shouldn't buy it because it's new. It's interesting to me. It is not the same thing. It's not the 18th iteration of another frickin' rectangle. So that is a benefit you get when you have an audience that has a large enough critical mass that they will show up. This is to your other point, that they will show up because they've been showing up for a long time, because they think you have something valuable to offer, and you can be kind of like, you can alternate your offerings in terms of video. Sarah Dietschy said this. I don't know if she was the first, but one for you, one for me. You know, you can alternate those things. You're like, here you go, guys. iPhone 84. Here's a 12-minute video that took way too long to make. But next week we're going to be talking about a Bluetooth Star Trek comm badge, and you're going to like it.
You know? Or else.
Or you're not going to watch it. Well, that's okay.
Right. I dig that. I think that speaks, as we were talking about at the beginning of our conversation, to the creative side as well as to the reasonable, I got to produce content kind of side, which is, you can't, if you get creatively bored, then you're not really being true to yourself, right? You haven't taken that shower time to just sort of like rebrand your brain a little bit into that space of, I can't keep doing this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that what I just said made any sense, but I know that emotionally you feel me there.
No, I definitely do. Yeah. I just whatever. The words didn't matter. You and I
7
were vibing.
blue 45 fish sticks. You get it. Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Well, you talked about AI a little bit earlier. I mean, I know other folks use it in their production, developing shorts. Do you have AI tools that you employ as part of your process, or are you pretty much all organic from, your brain and your work ethic?
There's this great moment in the Battlestar Galactica miniseries where the commander of the ship is leading a tour through the ship, and the Secretary of Education is like, "Well, this is gonna be a museum. We're gonna have to get some networked computers in here," and he's just like, "There will never be a networked computer system on this ship as long as I'm in command. Is that clear?" She's like, "Yeah." There will never be purely AI generated content from me reaching people like in that particular way. I think on the whole, and I'm going to come full circle on this. This isn't just an old man rant, but like on the whole, AI is driving a race to the bottom in terms of quality. I mean, it was already too easy to make lazy content. You could just outrage people or confuse them, or appear to be authentic when in fact being misinformed. I don't like TikTok, is what I'm saying. But
shocking.
Fucking A. I don't even know if I'm allowed to swear on this, but I'm so incensed.
Go with it.
Yeah. It was already easy enough to make trash, and AI has made it even easier to make trash that has the veneer of something of value, but really there's no substance underneath it. Now, as production tools, I will say I've seen it used very effectively. Kevin either, actually, he may have mentioned this because I don't know if you've run your last episode. I've been looking for it with him.
By the time this goes live, it'll be up.
Live. Okay. Well, He may have mentioned this in that episode. I'm looking forward to it because he blew my mind. One of the biggest challenges we have on site, if we go to a location for content production, is that you can't get good quality microphone audio if you're doing voiceover. And he created an AI voice model of himself, which is so good that really all he needs to do is type in what he wanted to say. And that AI voice, it's indistinguishable from him, at least in the context of an Instagram reel. Would I ever do it for a YouTube video? Maybe if it got good enough. I don't know. My voice is such a big component of what I like to include. I don't know, but that's a great example of AI. Oh my God, that solves a big problem. I don't have to be in a hotel blanket fort under blankets between two beds whispering into a microphone, right? You just type it in. Same thing for, I don't do this, but I think people who need summaries, people who want to aggregate all their thoughts, and let ChatGPT do it for, I don't have any problem with any of that. It's just, I think it's very tempting to overuse it. And we're already seeing what happens with that. We got pitched the other day for a version of Clicks for, I don't know, some other phone that's not the iPhone. And it was this like 3,000 word screed that was well formatted and argued for, I think, a good idea, But like 3/4 of the way through it, I'm like, why do I feel like I'm just eating empty calories here? Why do I feel like I'm just going to all this effort for not much return? And at the end, the guy disclosed, he's like, I used ChatGPT to write this, but I think it's pretty good. I'm like, of course. Because why? Because it can only do what's come before. I wasn't actually reading anything new. So I was this is my last thing I'll say about it, because this is more answer than you needed. But I was at a tech event. I won't say who hosted it because I don't know if this was live streamed or not, but the CEO of this giant silicon company was like asked about AI. And this CEO is famous for kind of saying what's on his mind and not adhering to a script. And he says, I don't know, the AI thing to me, it feels very much like a bubble. Doesn't it feel that way to anybody else? Like everyone else on stage who had spent like 2 hours talking about the AI elements of their new chip was like,
You're watching a stock price drop in real time. Yeah.
But that's how it feels to me. Like there's a lot of utility to it. It's certainly a new era. Certainly I'll be covering a lot of AI hardware on my channel, but I think it's more seductive. It's seductive more often than it is actually useful. And I think the more it's overused, the worse content we will get out of it.
I agree with that. I appreciate your comments about the race to the bottom, because I do see that in some instances that's very much the case. And I also agree that ChatGPT and tools like it make production easier. They make it easier for people who need to overcome certain limitations. Certainly, there's a democratization aspect to some of it, but you do see so much, particularly on things like YouTube Shorts and TikTok, a lot of terrible just slough. So I can appreciate that. My view is not dissimilar from yours, except I will say that, one of the things that I look for in AI support is like, where can I cut the fat of my production space? Like I like editing these podcasts myself, but making shorts is the single most painful thing I ever do. So finding a tool that lets me cut them down and has a quick editor that lets me sort of clip them together, because they're meant to be cotton candy content anyway, I may as well just sort of get it good. And if there's something I really want to spend my time on, I'll do something else with it. I think that's the one thing that I find really useful right now.
Yeah, I think, and look, if I treated shorts with the respect that frankly should be treated, then I would do the same thing. But I just don't have the patience or the motivation right now. But if I had to make shorts, I had to make reels, I would certainly use AI tools to make that road easier.
Totally. Yeah. Michael, what do you watch on YouTube, if anything?
Right. Yeah. Not a lot of tech stuff. I always feel, but we always a lot of us make this joke when we get together. All the YouTube tech folks is like, yeah, did you see my video? Oh, no, of course you didn't. Because the last thing you want after you make a tech, the last thing I want after I make a tech video is to watch everyone else's take on that thing. I will say there's one exception to that. If there's something I'm really excited about, like the Humane AI pen, right? Lots of opinions. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I am very interested in it. When I run my video on that, I will immediately go watch everybody else's video too, because that excites me. So that's the only time I watch tech stuff. But a lot of my YouTube stuff is space and ship stuff. There's a great channel called Ocean Liner Designs, where a guy, a very talented young man, just kind of teaches you things about ocean liners and other big ships. Has a great variety of stuff. That channel's grown rapidly. It's been fun to watch. Also, Scott Manley is a space guy. I think he works at Apple, but he's like an engineer who comments on space things.
Great name.
Scott Manley. Yeah, I know.
Scott Manley.
He's got a great Scottish accent too. It's great. Hello, it's Scott Manley here.
Oh my God. If that's not AI generated, if there isn't somebody behind the scenes being like, all right, I need to find some way to get people really interested fast. All right, he's got to be Scottish. It's got to be deep. He's got to have Scott. I don't know, Manley. Yes.
No, that's just a placeholder. No. Ship it.
No, you don't understand. Stop. Don't mess with perfection.
Yeah. And finally, I think I watch a few other channels, but like those are two that pop up a lot. And then always give a shout out to LGR, the finest retro computing YouTube content you will find. I had the occasion to meet him once and had a great chat. And he and I are of the same mind on a lot of like YouTube as career stuff. And my favorite thing about LGR, his name is Clint. when he was making the transition to YouTube full time, I asked him what his threshold was for that. And he said, I decided the day I made $1 more from YouTube than my day job, I would quit the day job. And that happened so long ago now, but that's what, like, I found that inspiring, because what it led to was the creation of this channel that is a lot like mine in some of the ways. I need to be better at delivering things, because this could sound like an insult. I think Clint has not evolved his style much over time, as I have not evolved my style much over the last couple of years at least. But I watch his videos religiously, and you look at the metrics, and so do a lot of other people. So yeah, you have to grow. Yeah, you have to adapt. Yeah, you have to be flexible. These are all important things, but you can also be consistent. And if you are consistently good and you have the audience already, you know, in my experience, more people gain interest than lose interest. So until that audience starts dying, literally, slings and arrows joke there. You know, you can have a nice little career for yourself, and I think that's a great comfort to someone like me who only has the stomach for a full reboot or a full evolution, maybe once every 5 years, if that. You know.
Sure. That brings me perfectly to my final question. So, as I mentioned, again, we're bringing up this interview with Kevin. It's like a two-parter essentially at this point. But I talked to him a little bit about, I'd recently seen a conversation that I think it was Hank and John Green had around thinking about their various channels, you know, Vlogbrothers, even the businesses they've built, the books that they've written, as conversations, right? And YouTube as a conversation has to end at some point, right? Conversations don't go on forever, even if you hand them off to somebody else, like we've seen with the sort of spate of retirements you've seen with guys like Matt Pat, et cetera, recently. The conversation, if not ending, certainly shifts, and things naturally end in a cycle. So at some point, your generation of content, the viewpoint that you have, will have to sunset just by the nature of time. Yeah. So I think my question for you is, like, when you look back at the legacy of your creative work, of the stuff that you've produced, like, what do you think you want your contributions to the conversation of tech to be? What do you think people, it's not like, you know, when I die, what do I want to be remembered for, so much as like, what are the things you hope people have taken away when your conversation is over?
It's a great question, and I wish I had a better, more well-rounded answer to it. But I gave it some thought when you gave me a little bit of a heads up about the.
Don't tell people that. What are you doing? I don't give you questions in advance. This is purely organic.
Shit. All right, back it up. This is
like publishing the Big Mac sauce recipe up front. Like, what are you doing to me?
What a delightfully unexpected, spontaneous question. Let me see if I can cook up a response.
I'm kind of a genius. All right, anyway.
Now, you know, it is a question, though, that is similar to the where do you see yourself in 5 years, which is a question I've never been able to answer, right? It's like, it's tough to encapsulate everything you want. But if I could point to one thing, it's nerdy, but it's like in tech, you will see companies or people try to launch things that they don't always fit into a mold. And they will almost always get slammed by the vast majority of people as impractical. And you will often see the response be that old chestnut that just people who want to sound smart like to roll out. But what problem does it solve? Well, this is a real solution in search of a problem. Shut up. What I would like is for people to acknowledge that, like, if everything is the same forever, if we are just doing iterations on something that works forever, that is a very boring world to exist in. And at the same time, that fun can be a wonderful reason to buy or express interest in a product or something else that someone's creating. Like, nothing has to be endlessly utilitarian. Nothing has to be pragmatic if you don't want it to be. So I think it's important to just recognize the value of whimsy and excitement and challenging the status quo. That has certainly been the shape of my content strategy for the last, 3 or 4 years. It's just like, this doesn't meet the threshold for news coverage because it's newsworthy even. It's just maybe it's just different, and maybe it is a bad idea, but let's talk about why, and let's see if there are good ideas within it. Or if it's a product that already failed, let's see what we can learn from that failure. I think there's a lot to be mined in things that don't exactly work or don't look like they should work. And I think an open-mindedness when addressing some of that is an attitude that I would like my channel to further.
A perfect note to end on. Michael, thank you so much as always, man. It's good to chat with you.
Thank you. I don't think that was. I think everything before it was perfect. I think that was too long. Can you cut that into something that sounds good?
No, probably not.
Gosh, darn it, Jason.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
Well, this has been fun. I really appreciate you taking it seriously. No, man, I appreciate it. Thank you. Is there anything before we close out you want to call out, something you got coming up, or anything related to clicks you want to shout out to the people before we end for the session here?
I think just a genuine thanks for listening to this, because I think you and I have wonderful conversations, and I really thank you for some thoughtful questions for real. Even though I didn't know they were coming, and even though I dreamed up all my responses on the spot.
Well, I have to thank you for not only pulling back the curtain on my Wizard of Oz here, but more importantly, every conversation with you is always a joy. We don't get to do it nearly often enough. And thank you again. This is always fun. Hopefully we get to do it again in the near term.
I hope so too, man. Anytime.
Cool. All right.